The grand mansion sat on a hill, towering over the sprawling city below, its lights shimmering like stars against the night sky. But inside, the walls were silent witnesses to something no money could fix. The heartache of two children, trapped in a world of cold luxury and emotional distance. Every night, the soft cries of little voices echoed through the marble halls, blending with the ticking of expensive clocks and the occasional hum of a lone chandelier. They weren't tears born from hunger or pain. Everything they could possibly need in life was already at their fingertips, but from a more devastating emptiness, the absence of love. The children, 7-year-old Lily and her 5-year-old brother, Max, were surrounded by wealth beyond imagination, yet they felt invisible. Their father, a busy millionaire CEO, was consumed by his empire, often forgetting the faces that smiled up at him from his own home. Their mother, a socialite lost in glamorous circles, rarely noticed the quiet sadness of her children. Every night, the children clutched their blankets, whispered to their stuffed animals, and tried to soothe each other, but the loneliness was overwhelming. The mansion's walls were beautiful, yet hollow, the rooms grand, yet cold. The children's tears painted invisible cracks in the perfection of wealth. And then, a new figure entered their lives, a woman named Clara, the maid assigned to care for the household. She was unlike anyone they had ever met. Warm, attentive, and with a gentle presence that seemed to radiate calm in the otherwise oppressive house. The first time Clara noticed the children crying, she didn't scold them or offer empty reassurances. She simply knelt beside them, her eyes soft, her hands steady. There was no judgment in her gaze, only recognition of the sorrow they carried. Something shifted in that quiet moment. The mansion no longer felt entirely like a prison, because there was suddenly a small presence that made them feel seen. Viewer engagement request. If you believe in kindness and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Stars of Kindness, because every heart deserves a chance to be healed. Clara quickly realized that wealth had shielded the children from hardships but had not protected them from emotional pain. She began to observe their daily lives, the way Lily would quietly line up her toys and imagine a family dinner, or how Max would speak to his reflection in the mirror, pretending it was someone who truly listened. Clara understood that the children's hearts were starved for attention and empathy, not material things. And so, she devised a gentle plan. She began small, leaving little notes tucked under their pillows, reading them bedtime stories, and most importantly, listening. She let the children speak without interruption, validating their feelings, and letting them know that their sadness was not a burden, but a truth that could be shared. Night after night, Clara's presence became a lifeline. She taught them to express their emotions in words, to draw their feelings on paper, and even to sing softly to themselves to soothe the ache inside. Slowly, the mansion began to feel warmer, less like a cold palace and more like a home. The children's laughter, though faint at first, started to echo along the marble floors, a fragile sound carrying the promise of healing. Yet, despite Clara's kindness, the children's despair could not be fully erased. They longed for their parents' love, a warmth that money could not buy. Lily often stared out of her bedroom window, imagining a family that held hands and shared secrets in cozy corners, while Max buried his face in his pillow, wishing someone would notice his small victories. Clara's heart ached seeing the yearning in their eyes. She knew that her efforts alone could not replace parental love, but she refused to let the children give up hope. One rainy night, when the mansion's lights flickered against the storm outside, Clara held both children close. She whispered stories of brave children who overcame loneliness, of families who found each other in unexpected ways, and of the power of a single person to make a difference. Lily clung to her, sobbing softly, while Max hid his tears against Clara's shoulder. In that stormy night, the mansion, cold and distant as it was, felt like a sanctuary, if only for a moment. Clara had become their anchor, a quiet reminder that even in the most desolate places, love could find a way to seep through the cracks. Days turned into weeks, yet the mansion remained a house of contrasts, glittering chandeliers and priceless furniture, but the quiet echoes of loneliness were never fully gone. Clara had woven herself into the children's lives like sunlight piercing through heavy clouds, yet the weight of their parents' absence loomed large. Lily and Max had grown to rely on Clara not just for comfort, but for a sense of reality in a world where love felt conditional. They loved their parents, of course, but that love was a fragile thing, shadowed by disappointment. Each unanswered question, each missed bedtime, deepened the ache inside them. Clara realized that if these children were to truly heal, she had to create moments that went beyond comfort. She had to spark joy, hope, and connection, even if their parents failed to do so. She started small, transforming the mansion into a canvas of imagination and adventure. She turned the grand library into a secret fort of blankets and fairy lights, where the children could imagine they were explorers in faraway lands. She arranged little scavenger hunts throughout the house, leaving handwritten clues that led to tiny surprises. A homemade cookie, a carefully folded paper crane, or a note that simply said, "You are loved." At first, Lily was hesitant, peeking around corners with wide eyes as if fearing the joy was a trick. Max, on the other hand, threw himself into each game with cautious excitement, his laughter breaking the long-standing silence. Clara encouraged them to create together, to paint, build, and tell stories. The mansion, which had once seemed like a cold, echoing gallery, slowly began to pulse with life, albeit in secret. Yet outside this little bubble of warmth, the children's parents remained distant. Their father, consumed by high-stakes deals and late-night meetings, barely noticed when Max fell asleep with tears on his cheeks. Their mother, ever immersed in charity galas and social events, failed to see Lily clutching her doll for comfort. The children's world seemed divided, one of privilege and appearances, and another, hidden world where true emotions lived and breathed. Clara could see how this divide hurt them deeply, and each night she held them close, her heart heavy with the knowledge that love could not be bought. One evening, Clara noticed a subtle change in Max. He had always been the quieter of the two, hiding his feelings behind a brave little smile. But that night, after a particularly lonely dinner where his father barely looked up from his phone, Max stormed into the playroom, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Why doesn't anyone care about us?" he cried, voice cracking with a mixture of anger and despair. Clara knelt down, holding him, letting him release all the bottled-up hurt he had carried for years. She whispered that it wasn't his fault, that their parents loved them in their own way, but that sometimes grown-ups got lost in their own worlds. Max clung to her, exhausted, but a glimmer of relief passed through his eyes, a reminder that validation, even from one caring heart, could begin to heal wounds. Meanwhile, Lily had started to confide her fears to Clara in a different way. She began writing letters, pouring her heart onto paper, letters to her parents, letters to imaginary friends, even letters to herself. Clara would read them with the children, sometimes writing little notes of encouragement in the margins. These letters became a bridge between the children's emotions and the outside world, a tool for expression that gradually built their confidence. As Clara nurtured their hearts, she also faced her own challenges. The parents, though well-meaning in their minds, were skeptical of her methods. They questioned why she spent so much time entertaining and comforting the children rather than simply managing the house. Clara endured their subtle criticism silently, knowing that the emotional work she was doing was far more important than chores and protocols. She had promised herself that she would not allow the children to grow numb to love, even if it meant standing alone. Then, a pivotal moment arrived one chilly morning. The family had arranged a formal brunch, with caterers and a string quartet, meant to impress guests rather than celebrate the children. Lily, frustrated by the endless focus on appearances, refused to sit still, spilling her juice in protest. Max, anxious and ignored, tugged at his father's sleeve, begging for attention. Clara acted quickly, guiding them into the garden, away from the prying eyes. There, she orchestrated a simple picnic on the dewy grass, complete with sandwiches, fruit, and warm tea. The children's eyes lit up as they felt a rare sense of freedom, just the three of them, away from expectations, rules, and appearances. It was in that quiet garden, under the soft morning sun, that the first seeds of transformation truly took root. The children began to understand that joy could exist even without the perfect setting, and love could be felt even in the absence of their parents' attention. Clara's patience, creativity, and unwavering devotion were slowly teaching them that while life could be lonely at times, they were never truly alone. Yet, the story was far from over. The mansion still held many secrets, and the distance between the children and their parents was a chasm that could not be bridged by playtime alone. Clara knew that the ultimate test was coming, the moment when the parents would either see the truth of their children's hearts, or the children would retreat into silent resignation. The mansion, once a monument to wealth and emptiness, had begun to change in subtle ways. Laughter, once a rare echo, now lingered in the hallways. The children, Lily and Max, had grown stronger, more confident, and, most importantly, they had begun to believe in the possibility of love. Not just the fleeting, superficial kind, but the steady, comforting love that comes from connection, empathy, and attention. Clara's presence had become their lifeline, and though she could not replace their parents, she had shown them that their hearts mattered, that their voices were worth hearing. Then came a rainy evening that would forever change everything. Their father had returned late from a business trip, exhausted and impatient, while their mother was preparing for another high-profile charity event. The children, weary from days of feeling invisible, sat quietly in the grand living room, their small shoulders hunched, their eyes reflecting a sadness that could not be disguised. Clara knew this night would test all her efforts. She gently guided them to the playroom, now transformed into a warm haven with cushions, soft lights, and drawings that lined the walls like windows into their souls. She encouraged the children to share their feelings, to speak the truths they had been holding inside for so long. Lily, with tears brimming in her eyes, told Clara how lonely she had felt, how she had longed for her parents to see her, to hear her, and to hold her when she cried. Max, voice trembling, admitted how he had felt invisible, like his happiness and sadness were unimportant to the people who were supposed to love him most. Clara listened, holding each word close to her heart, validating their emotions, and reminding them that it was never their fault. It was in this quiet, sacred space that the impossible began to happen. Their parents, noticing the absence of their children and hearing the echoes of soft voices from the playroom, finally paused. Curiosity and concern drew them near, and for the first time, they truly saw their children, not as extensions of wealth or status, but as fragile, feeling human beings who had been longing for their love all along. Their father knelt on the floor, eyes wide and brimming with guilt, as he apologized for his absence, admitting that he had been blinded by work and ambition. Their mother, tears streaming, held Lily close, whispering that she had been foolish to let appearances matter more than her child's heart. The mansion, which had once felt cold and imposing, now resonated with something far more valuable than gold: reconciliation, recognition, and genuine love. Clara watched silently, her heart swelling with quiet triumph. She had never sought recognition for herself. Her reward was far greater: the transformation of two innocent hearts, and the awakening of parents who had been blind to what truly mattered. She had become the bridge, the guiding light that had shown the family that love, when nurtured and expressed, could heal even the deepest wounds. In the days that followed, the family changed profoundly. Meals became moments of connection rather than obligations, playtime was welcomed and cherished, and the children's laughter filled every corner of the mansion. Lily and Max felt safe to express their feelings, knowing their parents would listen. The mansion, once a place of sorrow, had become a home filled with warmth, laughter, and belonging. And through it all, Clara remained a steadfast presence, not as a mere caretaker, but as a symbol of kindness, empathy, and unwavering love. The children never forgot the nights when tears had consumed them, and the woman who had held them through the storm, teaching them that their hearts mattered. They learned that true wealth was not in gold or jewels, but in love, attention, and human connection. The story of Lily, Max, and Clara reminds us that a single person's kindness can change lives, that love can be found in unexpected places, and that it is never too late to make a difference. Clara had done the impossible. She had turned a mansion of silence into a home of love, and in doing so, had healed not just the children, but the hearts of their parents too. Special viewer engagement request: if this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share this video. Tell us how kindness has changed your life, and let us know in the comments which part of Clara's story moved you the most. Your engagement helps spread hope, love, and the reminder that one caring heart can change the world.